Thank you.
This is State of Michigan versus Orlando Austin, 23F55169. I have received a petition requesting a court-appointed lawyer. I will sign that. Go ahead when you're ready, Ms. Plumai.
Your Honor, Assistant Public Defender Alexis Plumai appearing with and on behalf of Mr. Orlando Austin. At this time, we would waive any formal reading of the complaint and stand mute as to the charges.
Go ahead, Mr. Emmons or Detective McDonough, whoever's speaking on this.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll try and get it all done if I can. Obviously, the court should be in possession of our bond form. We are requesting a high cash bond. This is an incident that occurred at a very well-attended and public place where there were lots of other people. The motive seems to be relatively unknown, and I'm not here to explain irrational behavior, but you know, these are two people who didn't really know each other or who didn't know each other at all, just randomly ran into each other at a local gym, and escalation led to the defendant shooting the victim. Victims, as I last understood it, was in surgery. I mean, he's gonna, all things looking, prognosis is good, but that shouldn't discount the seriousness of this offense. Mr. Austin is a CPL holder, decided to utilize that against this other individual who was unarmed and really presented no real threat. So very concerned. My understanding is that he also owns several other handguns. We're asking that those handguns be confiscated. We are asking for that cash bond. If the court is inclined to go to a lower amount and something that he's able to post, we'd ask obviously for a GPS tether, that confiscation of the weapons and no contact with the listed complainant in this matter, and no going to any Planet Fitness within the Washtenaw County area.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Plumai.
Your Honor, Mr. Austin's is a local resident. He's a high school graduate. He is currently employed as a DoorDash driver. He has absolutely no assaultive history in the past, and it's my understanding and my belief that he will be vigorously pursuing self-defense. In this case, I would be open to a GPS tether, but would be asking for, again, a lower affordable cash bond in this case. Additionally, Mr. Austin has stated that he fully understands the no contact order. I don't believe it will be an issue here, seeing as there's no reason for him to have contact with Ms.
The only tether that I would consider would be a home confinement.
Yes, Your Honor.
How would that affect his work?
I mean, of course, he wouldn't be able to do that DoorDash driving, but I do believe that he would still prefer to be out and staying at his mother's house, that Detroit address, with the home confinement tether.
I'm sorry, is he a local resident or is he a resident of Detroit?
A resident of
Detroit, but is that,
Detroit.
I mean, why is that not local? I think she means like not out of state.
Well, I've got his driver's license came back to an address in Northville. He's going to a Planet Fitness in Ann Arbor while residing at Detroit. Like, I don't know where he belongs to.
Where do you, when you go home to sleep at night, where do you sleep, Mr. Austin?
In the Ann Arbor, Saline area.
But your address is at your mom, you receive mail at your mother's house?
Correct. Yep.
So you don't have a permanent home?
Not at the moment. I was traveling out in the area, so I did stay out in the area sometimes, hotels,
Okay.
sometimes vehicle.
All right. Thank you for that clarification.
Your Honor,
Okay, so, yes,
if I could just hit on, we actually executed a search warrant on the defendant's car, and he does have a lot of belongings into the car, leading me to believe he's probably staying not at that Griggs address and staying possibly in his car based on the amount of clothes. And I'd just like to reiterate that this occurred in the middle of the day in a crowded gym on the west side of Ann Arbor, and I'm extremely concerned about what happened given the severity of the circumstances that resulted from, and again, I'm not going to give quotes from the victim, but this was over a physical fight altercation resulting in a subject being shot. So I have extreme concerns about him being let back out into the public. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, can I say anything?
no, just a minute, Mr. Austin. So your opinion, Detective McDonough, is that even a home confinement tethered to that Griggs address in Detroit would not be sufficient?
I do not think so, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Austin, you may speak to me if you wish to. That's your prerogative, but we should not be discussing the details of the case with me. You don't want to be in a situation where you're making any kind of an admission about what did or did not happen. You do have a lawyer who has spoken to me about your intention to pursue a self-defense argument in this case and your other situation. So you are welcome to speak to me, but I'm giving you those instructions that you don't need to. And we are on YouTube, so anything you say is being sent out into the world.
All right, understood. I just would like to say that my home base is in, like, I would be able to do the home confinement at the Detroit address at my mother's house.
Okay.
Other.
Okay, so go ahead. Anything else?
No, I was just saying, if eligible, that I would be able to do that. Just stay there at the confinement if allowed.
All right. The what we're doing in the arraignment is making sure you know what you're charged with, giving you a lawyer, a court date, which I'll do in a moment, and setting bond. Bond essentially has two components to it. The evaluation is whether the defendant presents a flight risk and whether the defendant presents a danger to the community. Regarding flight risk, I think the only thing that indicates a flight risk is perhaps your unstable living situation. I understand that may be something that you could rectify and stay someplace more stable if necessary. But I do think that for purposes of today, I'm considering you to effectively be homeless at this time, which indicates some flight risk. Part two of the bond evaluation is whether the defendant presents a danger to the community. This situation is being presented to me today as a relatively unprovoked conflict between strangers in a public place, and that not only was there a shooting, you shooting another person, but that then when that person attempted to get to a safer place, the allegation is that Mr. Austin, the defendant, followed the victim into the Planet Fitness, where there were lots of other people, and that at that time, I believe the gun was still in his hand.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I also own no other weapons, no other firearms. It was just that one firearm that I own that is
You
registered.
have 5 firearms, according to the police, you have 5 firearms that are registered to you.
I have no firearms besides that one that's registered in my name.
Why do the government records show that there are 5 firearms registered to you?
That would be a false report. I've never purchased any firearms besides the one from Ann Arbor Arms.
Do you have a relative that has the same name as you?
No, I do not.
Detective Donna, are you the person that showed that he has 5 firearms registered to him?
Yes, Your Honor, I ran that in lien to confirm if he had any other firearms and included it in the report to show that. So whether or not he still has those, the liens indicating.
Lien is indicating that as of this morning or yesterday, there were 5 firearms in his registered to him. But you're right, we don't know where those are now.
Correct. Yes, that would be correct.
Okay. So what I was saying, Mr. Austin, is that I'm talking about whether or not you're a danger to the community. The facts as alleged in this case definitely indicate a danger to the community. Right now in Washtenaw County, we are having the highest murder rate in recent memory. Luckily, this person is not going to die. We're having so much gun violence that at this point, I don't think there's anybody that lives in the county that doesn't know some person or some family that has not been affected by gun violence. And so that's a very serious situation. I take that very seriously as the magistrate of this court. My ability to do anything about the amount of gun violence we have right now is very, very limited. But one thing I can do is set a bond to try to protect the community from people who are willing to discharge a firearm at another person, which is what I'm doing in your case. The conversation we had about whether or not a GPS tether was sufficient, I think that might be, but now that I've gotten some more information, that's not the choice that I'm going to make today, except as a backup should you post the bond. I am setting your bond at $500,000 cash or surety, no 10%. If you are able to post that bond, a GPS tether with home confinement to that Griggs address in Detroit.
And Your Honor, for the record, I just double checked the lien info, different date of birth, same name. My apologies. So he has the one gun
Okay.
to him.
I'm going to note that on the bond recommendation, just so that it's clear that was that we discovered that. Okay, did you hear that, Mr. Austin? Detective Donna McDonough double checked and we verified that there is just the one gun in your name with your birth date.
It was only carried for training protective purposes.
Well, except that's not what happened. So I don't care why you think you had to have that gun. What happened is somebody was shot by you in a situation that endangered a lot of other people. And I don't know where in the leg this person was shot, but we all know that there are places in the leg where a person will bleed out very quickly if a bullet hits that particular artery. So I don't care what you think you were doing with it, because this is what happened. And that's what I'm trying to say. That's the problem. The problem is that if people are walking around willing to use their guns at the drop of a hat, we're going to have murders and shootings. So you get credit from me for having it properly registered to you and having been trained to use it, but it doesn't matter because of where we are now.
Right.
So if and when bond is posted, home confinement to that Griggs address, the rest of the bond conditions are no illegal drugs, alcohol, marijuana, no firearms, weapons, or ammunition, do not leave the state of Michigan without permission of the court, no contact with the alleged victim, do not go to 2350 West Stadium Boulevard, which is the Planet Fitness, or to Mr. S, which is in Gregory, Michigan. I'm not going to put the full address on the record because we are on YouTube right now. No criminal behavior, no assaulted behavior. The court date will be August 24th. That's a week from today at 9 a.m. That will be over Zoom with Judge Simpson. Do you have any questions? Okay, you're all set, Mr. Austin. When you're ready, you can stand up and walk to the door. Thank you.
All right. Did you say if I had any questions, if I could ask?
Yeah,
one
go
more?
ahead. Yeah.
Is there any like possibility for me to state what actually did happen, or?
No,
right now.
not today.
Okay.
Something you can talk to lawyers about, okay?
All right. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yep, thank you. Okay, on the bond form where it says he has 5 firearms registered to him, including the one used in this incident, I'm going to cross that out entirely and put a note there that says that at arraignment, we determined that there was just the one.
Yep, no problem, and I'll sub that report.
Yeah, we're gonna sub that
Okay.
out and make sure that it gets out to the party so that hopefully is mitigated.
Okay. Thank you.
All right,
Be right
thank
with
you.
you, just a moment. Thank you.
Going off YouTube.
All right. Could you state your name for the record, please, Mr. Gamez?
Charles Gomez.
Mr. Lebo, were you able to meet with him? Yes. Okay, so I have a Bosun's Way for your mail. Is that a good place for you to receive mail from the court?
No.
Okay, do you want to give me a different address?
I could give you my mother's address, but I don't want to live stream that.
Okay, we can get it from you later then. The phone number that you provided that ends in 8947, is it okay to use that phone number?
I mean, you can, I mean, obviously I can't use it, but
Okay. All right, State of Michigan versus Charles Gamez, Washington County Sheriff's Department, report number 2320636. I do not have a court case number because it is Sunday. I've received a petition requesting a court-appointed lawyer. I will sign that. You may proceed when you're ready, Mr. Lebo.
Thank you, Your Honor. Assistant Public Defender Davi Leba on behalf of Mr. Gomez. I've reviewed the complaint with Mr. Gomez and we waive formal reading and stand mute.
This is not Gomez, this is Gamez.
I apologize, Your Honor. I've reviewed the complaint with Mr. Gamez and waive formal reading and
Okay,
stand.
just want to make sure we're talking about the right person.
We are.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Blanche.
Defendant's been charged with open murder in Utah.
Oop, I can hardly hear you.
Can you hear me now? Sorry, Judge.
A
Can you hear
little
me now?
bit. That's better.
Okay. The defendant has been charged with open murder in Utah. The victim in this case died of blunt force trauma to the head and strangulation. He took a knife to her face so hard that part of the knife actually broke off in her jawbone as an embedded in her jawbone. He's released from parole in 2021 for highly assaultive domestic violence related charges. We believe he's a danger to the community and a flight risk. He has ties to Florida and
Hear her? I can't hear you.
You can't hear me at all, Judge?
Very, very faintly.
Hear voice, but not what you're saying.
I can hear that you're talking, but I can't hear the words.
Can you hear me now?
That's better.
Okay, I'm as close as I can be to the microphone. I don't know why it's not.
Is your volume all the way up?
It is.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Can you check and see if she's getting picked up on the recording? You might have to put the headphones in and see. Okay, go ahead and say something, please.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you okay.
Okay.
Can you hear?
Very low on the headphones too.
But it's coming through?
It's coming through.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you want me to start from the beginning, Judge, or did you hear pick?
Yeah, I think you better, because I'm not sure if it was being recorded.
Okay. The defendant is charged with open murder in Utah. The victim in this case died of blunt force trauma to her head and strangulation. He took a knife to her face so hard that the part of the knife broke off and is embedded in her jawbone. He was released from parole in 2021 for highly assaultive domestic violence related charges. He's a danger to the community and a flight risk. He has ties to Florida, and it took us numerous days to apprehend him. Based on those reasons, we're asking you to deny his bond, Your Honor.
Okay. And also based on the court rule.
Correct. He's been charged with
Okay.
murder.
All right, thank you. Did you want Detective Morrison to say anything?
I don't believe she needs to unless she would like to.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Mr. Lebo.
Thank you, Your Honor. So first, I'd like to address Mr. Gamez's ties to Florida. Mr. Gamez has not lived in Florida for the past 23 years, and he tells me his only actual tie to Florida is that he has an uncle who lives there, and that is not someone who he could stay with. So we do not actually believe that there's any risk of him fleeing to Florida. I would also note that he does have ties to local family, including more extensive ties to local family than he has to ties in Florida, including his mother in Novi, who, as he discussed, if he were to be released, he would reside with. Mr. Gamez also informed me that he actually turned himself into the police via a phone call, where they then came to where he was staying and arrested him. So I think that's also important to note, that he was not apprehended on the warrant. He turned himself in. We're obviously not seeking a personal bond. What we are seeking is a bond that he could post, and if the court deems it necessary, a home confinement tether to an address which he will provide to the court at his mother's home, rather than an outright denial of bond. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Michigan Court Rule 6.106 regarding pretrial release states that sub A, sub 1, sub B, sub 1, sub A states that the court may deny pretrial release to a defendant that is charged with murder. Typically, this court does deny bond in a murder case. I don't see any reason to deviate from that usual policy in this situation, so I am denying bond at this time. The probable cause conference will be on March 30th, 2023, approximately 9 a.m. over Zoom. I don't see that any other bond conditions are being requested, and I think based on the denial of bond, there isn't any need to put those other conditions in. Those can be addressed at the next court date if bond is modified. Okay, anything else?
Thank you, Judge.
You're all set, Mr. Gamez.